Hello and welcome. We are the Business Enterprise Program, and our purpose is to assist all prime bidders and BEP certified subcontractors in completing the solicitation's utilization plan. Here, you'll learn 4 steps to submitting a responsive U plan. So, what is a utilization plan? Well, a U plan for short is the means through which the prime bidder identifies how their organization will meet the BEP diversity goal for the solicitation. The U plan is split into 4 parts, and today we'll be covering each of these: the vendor commitment, subcontractor participation agreement, formerly known as the letter of intent, good faith efforts, and terms and conditions. But before we get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Patricia, and I'm a BEP Compliance Officer. Alongside my colleagues, we review every U plan submitted by the state's purchasing agencies. We validate all aspects of the U plan, including the subcontractor BEP certification. We also mirror the efforts made by the prime bidders if a good faith effort is submitted in lieu of the goal or partial goal. Now, let's jump in. This is the State of Illinois' Business Enterprise Program's most current utilization plan, version 20.0. If you scroll down, you'll notice that the plan follows a sequential order. Part 1, the vendor commitment. Part 2, subcontractor participation agreement. Part 3, good faith efforts. And Part 4, terms and conditions. But the first step to a successful U plan is reading and understanding the terms and conditions. And for that reason, we'll get started on Part 4. In Part 4, you will find important terms to note. For example, commercially useful function. To fulfill the contract goal, the scope of work performed by the BEP firm must be a commercially useful function of the contract. You will also find the good faith efforts section, which will define all the necessary requirements for a successful completion of the good faith efforts. Take the time to review all of Section 4. And of course, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact the BEP compliance officer identified in the solicitation. Or, if your questions are related to the specifics of the procurement, then contact the agency representative also found in the solicitation document. After you've completely read and familiarized yourself with the terms and conditions of the U plan in Part 4, you are ready to identify the options for Part 1, vendor commitment and signature. How will you meet the goal? Well, you can choose one of these options. The prime bidder is BEP certified and will self-perform to fulfill the goal, or the prime bidder identifies a BEP certified subcontractor or multiple subcontractors to satisfy the goal. If the prime bidder is not BEP certified or cannot engage any BEP certified subcontractors for the contract, then the prime bidder must seek a waiver by completing the good faith effort section of the U plan. This demonstrates your efforts in locating BEP certified vendors to perform all or a portion of the work to satisfy the goal. More on good faith efforts coming up. To find a BEP certified firm for subcontracting, you must visit cms.diversitycompliance.com. Without logging into the system, you can look up BEP firms by clicking on the certification directory. When a new window pops up, scroll down on the screen to click to look up commodity codes, known as NIGP codes for this procurement. Enter your NIGP code and search. Select Add, and scroll down to the bottom of the page to click Search again. The next pop-up window will be the search results, and this will produce your BEP vendor list. Our suggestion is that you download the search results to an Excel format and print the vendor list. Please note, if you are bidding on a solicitation that contains both BEP and a veteran goal, a dually certified vendor cannot satisfy both the BEP and veteran goal on the same solicitation. You must choose the vendor to satisfy one or the other goal, but not both. A separate U-Plan and participation agreement must be submitted for each goal type on the solicitation. You may select one or multiple vendors to satisfy the goal, with a separate participation agreement for each individual BEP subcontractor. Keep in mind, whether you are fulfilling the contract goal as a BEP certified prime bidder or if you are partnering with a BEP subcontractor, your organization or the subcontractors you identify must be certified by BEP at the time of the bid submission. The subcontractor must be BEP certified by the state of Illinois. If you choose to work with a BEP certified subcontractor, this is where you identify who you're partnering with and what their scope of work will be, identified by NIGP codes. You are not limited to the number of BEP subcontractors you may utilize as long as each performs a commercially useful function of the contract. Vice versa, a BEP subcontractor is not limited to any one prime solicitation and may even bid the contract as a prime for the same solicitation. If you've entered a participation agreement with a subcontractor, both signatures from the prime and sub must be included at the bottom of the agreement. Furthermore, all items on the participation agreement must be completed. Utilize not applicable if you think something on the U-Plan does not apply to you. You must identify the percentage of the BEP goal this subcontractor will receive. If you select multiple BEP vendors as subs, the sum of each goal identified on each individual U-Plan must equal the total BEP goal of the contract. If the goal is not met or only partially met, a good faith effort must be completed. Remember, at any time if you have any questions completing participation agreements or good faith efforts, reach out to the BEP compliance officer identified in the solicitation for assistance. If you've made it to Part 3, Good Faith Efforts, it means you've exhausted every effort in meeting the BEP goal through BEP subcontracting. You can find best practices for conducting a good faith effort linked on page 5 of the U-Plan. You must also fill out the Good Faith Efforts contact log that has been provided for you in the U-Plan. Let's take a look at some requirements for completing a good faith effort. The solicitation will identify a specific NIGP code or codes that capture the service and/or commodity that the agency or institution of higher education is purchasing. If these NIGP codes are not identified in the solicitation, contact the solicitation's agency representative. It is these codes that must be utilized to not only find BEP subcontractors on the search vendor screen, but also, if needed, to establish a good faith effort. To establish a good faith effort, every BEP certified vendor included in the resulting search of these codes on our portal must be contacted. Any less will result in a non-responsive U-Plan. If necessary, duplicate the log if you have a larger number of vendors to document. Supporting documentation of your good faith efforts is required and must be submitted with your bid. Submit copies of all emails, your initial and follow-up emails, as well as any emails received from potential subcontractors. Also, submit any documentation relating to communication by telephone with the subs. It is important to note again that only NIGP codes defined in the solicitation may be utilized in establishing a good faith effort. You may select additional NIGP codes that are a commercially useful function, but these additional codes may only be used to obtain subcontractors identified on a participation agreement. Our goal is to help you submit a responsive utilization plan. In turn, the state of Illinois becomes more inclusive of businesses owned by minorities, women, and persons with disabilities, as well as help remove and eliminate barriers to their participation. Questions about the products, services, or terms of conditions of the procurement in the solicitation not specific to the U Plan, should be addressed to the agency contact person. Any legal concerns regarding the U Plan will be addressed by the agency or BEP and CMS Legal Services. Thanks for joining us, and feel free to send comments, questions, or concerns to bep.cms@illinois.gov.